what's his name? Churchill's. So I read this book, Churchill and it's called Franklin and Winston, about their relationship.
Yeah.
Churchill was a nerd. He was a fat English drunk nerd, and he was a lord. He was a little Lord Fauntleroy nerd. Now, Franklin Roosevelt was also a rich kid.
Yeah, he was a nerd.
He was a nerd, but he was also really dedicated to the people. And he did a lot of things like up here in upstate New York. He had Hyde Park, and there's all these massive estates, Hyde Park, and the Vanderbilts lived next door. And he gave when he became president, he gave Hyde Park to the country. He said, you just let it be a museum for a time when people lived like this. And he persuaded his next door neighbors, the Vanderbilts, to do the same. He got all the upstate rich people. He said, move into the city and give these places, let these be places for the people to visit. So that's the kind of guy he was. But so Winston Churchill worshipped Roosevelt. He just thought he was the coolest. Americans came off really cool back then. And Churchill was like this, very, and so there's a few intimate stories that are great about the two of them. One of them, Winston came to Hyde Park to plead the case, please come into the war, because Franklin wasn't coming into the war. So he spent like a night in Hyde Park, and they talked, and it was Churchill's feeling like for the first time that Franklin maybe liked him. And so the moment that's in this book is that he was in his car, Churchill, at night, and FDR was seeing him off. He was like at the window of his car, and Churchill said, "Franklin, I feel so good to have really spent time with you, and I feel a connection with you." And Roosevelt said, Take it easy. He said, just take it easy. And then the other one, and he just hurt his feelings. Then the other great thing was at Yalta, the conference at Yalta, where
this is good.
FDR and
Stalin.
Churchill are trying to get Stalin to come into the war on the Allied. He could have come in at either side. It was a toss-up, or he could have stayed out. But a Russian front to the war was everything. It turned out to be everything.
Yeah.
The same thing that happened it's what killed Napoleon, because Russia is just this deep forest, and anybody who invades Russia just gets absorbed and then stuck for the winter. Yeah. It killed Napoleon, and it eventually took Hitler. It's not where they lose, but it's where they drains. Okay.
Yeah.
So Churchill is like the European statesman. He's the one who's been fighting the war longer, and he's been mechanizing. How am I going to do this? And so when they get to Yalta, he goes to Roosevelt and says, "Let's talk. Let's plan how we're going to get Joseph." And FDR goes, let's have lunch. We'll do it after lunch. And he's like, "Okay, when are we gonna? We got to confab, you and me. We got to triangulate. You come from that. So good cop, bad cop. Like, which one do you want to do?" And FDR is like, "It's all right, Winston. It's all right. It's all right. I got that. We'll talk about it. We'll definitely talk about it." And then they're at lunch with Stalin, and Roosevelt looks at Churchill and he says to Stalin, "Joseph, look at Churchill. Look at what a fat, weird little man he is. Look at him with his cigar. Look how ridiculous he is." And Stalin is like shocked, and he looks at Churchill and he goes, "Bah!" And he just laughs, and he fucking drinks vodka with FDR, and they fucking singing songs. Yeah. And FDR and Joseph are like best friends. Churchill is a fucking loser.
Yeah.
And then and FDR is like, "So you come in our side?" And Joseph's like, "Yes, I come in your side." Of course I come in your side. He read the room, and he knew what had to be done. And it was throwing fucking Winston Churchill under the bus and making him feel like a fat little fucking...
And he was mad about it. He was mad. Churchill was mad. He left there. No, but he got he won World War II at that.
Yes, he did. But he had to be humiliated.
Yeah. The best was a cool one about Churchill and Roosevelt. Not really Roosevelt, but just after Pearl Harbor. Mm-hmm. I think Churchill sent a cigar to the king and was like, "We just won." Like as soon as Pearl Harbor happened,
he knew
like,
because that's over. All he wanted was for them to get the war.
It's over.
There is one point where he needed to meet in person with FDR. So the British fleet took Churchill into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
And the American fleet sent a warship that had FDR's yacht on, like, just sitting on the deck of an aircraft carrier, and they lowered his yacht into the water in the middle of the ocean.
Jesus
and
Christ.
it putted over to the English, and they were ringed by, like, if the Nazis had come along, there was like 1,000 guns just for a meeting between those two guys on a yacht drinking whiskey in the middle of the ocean. So that's all I got on FDR. 3 terms.
Yeah, and then he died.
So Truman. Okay, Truman.
Fuck the New Deal. We don't need to talk about it.
Yeah, don't care. We're talking about the guys, not the American history. So Truman was his 3rd vice president.
Truman was, Missouri, I think.
Yes.
And he was considered kind of a fucking loser, right?
He was hated.
Yeah.
He was like hated the way that like Ted Cruz is hated. Like that kind of like, if you talk to people in Washington, they're just like, oh, I can't with that fucking guy for different reasons. But Truman was picked. FDR was like, who can we pick that's not gonna fuck things up, And they picked Truman. Truman was a guy. He worked at a haberdashery. It didn't work out. He was one of these guys. His father was a farmer, and he was running his farm. And then he went and worked at a bank and was kicking ass.
Yeah.
And then his father's farm failed, and so he took it over, and that wiped out like 10 years of his life was just being a farmer. And he had a haberdashery that didn't work, whatever. But so Truman went to the Senate, and then when he was a senator, his focus was graft during World War II. Basically, all the money, like billions of dollars, would be appropriated for the war and given to American industries, and they would all steal them. And every senator in Washington was stealing all the war. We were fighting Hitler, and everybody in Washington was just stealing money and fleecing their fucking pockets, like openly in front of everybody. Yeah. And so Truman like had this idea: let's not do that. Let's
try to win.
Let's try to win, and let's try to get the money to the soldiers who are dying. And everyone hated him. That's why they hated him. They fucking hated him. And even Roosevelt.
Hated him.
What's that?
I would have hated him.
Everybody hates the guy.
Stay out of this.
Yeah, everybody hates the one guy.
Yeah.
Even FDR was like, do we really want a guy who's like, oh, man,
we need a
don't
leader.
Steal the money.
Yeah.
So they made him vice president. Nobody liked him. They locked him out of like they always do to the vice president. So one night he's in Sam Rayburn's office. Sam Rayburn was like the greatest Speaker of the House ever. Sam Rayburn, there's the building that all the offices are in is the Sam Rayburn building. He was like the first great speaker, one of the great speakers. So Sam Rayburn, he's in his office playing poker with Sam Rayburn. They had a poker room, like a dark, original smoky room. And Truman is just a loser, vice president. Nobody talks to him. And he's playing poker with Sam and the other guys late into the night, just having a good time. And then he gets a call. There's a call for you. And it's Eleanor Roosevelt. She says, my husband just died.
Yeah.
You need to get to the White House. So out of habit, because nobody cared about him, he just went on the street alone and hailed a cab.
Yeah.
And there was one moment where he's in a taxi and he realizes, Jesus Christ, we're at war. And the president of the United States is in a taxi. Nobody knows where I am. And then the famous moment is that he got to the White House and Eleanor greeted him at the door. And he said, Mrs. President or whatever, is there anything I can do for you? And she says, Mr. President, is there anything I can do for you?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, this is going to suck.
Yeah. She's like, you're the one who's in trouble now.
Truman's going to blow.
Yeah.
But he was a very good fucking president.
He nukes Japan.
Dropped the bomb. There is a
and don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted.
They had it coming. All right. There's this thing in history where everyone wants to be like, I can't believe they did that. Look into it.
No, there's the account of the announcement of the Truman was on a ship when he was on a big ship and he was having a big banquet.
Yeah.
And he got the report in his ear, like George Bush, that they had just
it worked.
Yeah, that it worked because nobody knew if it even worked. and he did a little ting, 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 ting.
Hey,
everybody, just so you know, we dropped a bomb on the jet on Hiroshima. And it worked, and we're starting to. And then I think Nagasaki had dropped after also. Yeah. And it looks like we're
a day later.
And everybody applauded because there was no conflict.
Yeah,
because the Japanese were never going to surrender.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that would have died, this is what it's like when you get deep into a war. How many people have died so far? How many more will die if we do it this way?
Yeah.
How many will die if we do it this way? So that's what happened. I don't have an opinion about it. I don't.
I do.
But that's fine.
But here's the thing. Nobody cares about Dresden. Nobody cares about...
No, Dresden, way more people died.
Yeah, and it's also... And first off, not more horrifically, both had like fire tornadoes.
Yes.
That just wiped out.
Well, they set the atmosphere on fire.
Yeah, it's the scariest thing in the world.
It's awful.
It sucked the oxygen out of a city, and there were fire tornadoes.
Yes.
People were melting in the streets.
Yes.
Into the street. The
going
pavement,
down the drains.
The pavement melted. So they'd run out of their houses, and their feet would get stuck. And then they'd reach down and then just be stuck in the fucking... I mean, it's the worst thing in the world. But you know, they might have had it coming.
But
of course, these are civilians.
There's a joke about two agents running into each other on the street in Hollywood, and one of them's like, "Hey, what have you been up to?" And he goes, "Oh, I produced a special for whatever. Just pick a, Celine Dion or whatever."
Yeah.
He goes, "How'd you like working with her?" And she's like, "Fucking cunt, fucking worthless, fucking spoiled brat, fucking drunk, fucking drug-addled cunt. I hope she fucking dies." And the other guy goes, "She's my niece." And the guy goes, "Let me finish." It's an old joke. Cut it out of the thing.
No, anyway, that's a good joke.
So okay, why did we get to that? Because Nagasaki, Hiroshima. So Truman dropped the bombs. And won the war, and then the next guy is
Eisenhower.